Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Simon here with another episode of the Book of Boba Fett, episode number 5. There are only 2 more to go after this. Last week's episode ended with me sort of saying, that sounds like the Mandalorian theme, only to realise it is the Mandalorian theme. Yeah, it seems like we're going to be getting a cameo from Din Djarin, which is going to be awesome. I know that The Mandalorian is filming right now for Season 3, so we will eventually get to see Din again, but it's going to be cool to see, you know, obviously him in the Book of Boba Fett, where he's not the main character, you know, and it's getting this feeling of building up a motley crew to go up against the Pikes. You know, you've got Chrysanthemum, you've got the biker gang, we've potentially got, you know, the Mandalorian, and it will be interesting to see if there's anyone else who gets brought in to take on the Pikes. I don't know where this show is going exactly, which is always an interesting thing. You know, I enjoyed last week's episode. It was, again, the final episode with flashbacks, I believe. Just again catching up with Boba on how he got, you know, to interact with Fennec for the first time, how he got Slave One back, and I know there's been a lot of conjecture over the last week about the name Slave One and Fire Spray, and yes, technically the ship's design is Fire Spray, and it has been for many years, but the name Slave One predates it, and I know it's the name of the ship's, like, when the ship was first originally designed, before it was given to Jango Fett. And again, there's a lot of EU lore, and I'm not quite sure what is canon lore, you know, because Star Wars has a very mixed up history depending on what source you're reading, and I'm not sure if it's really been confirmed in canon what the origin of Slave One is, or, you know, it's a name. I'm still going to call it Slave One because that's what I've always known it by. It doesn't really matter to me what they call it on screen. But yeah, looking forward to seeing where this one goes. So we're going to jump in. Now, before we do, I want to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon super supporters. BredeTheGreat, Charlie Collins, Demiurge, Ernesto Sanchez Jr, Frank Tremel, Henri Afschrift, Karen Abel, Lord Zero, Michael Y, Mr. Greg 89, Nick Walters, Nightwolf 37, and Tenor Mike 3. So without further ado, let's jump in to another episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Oh, the silhouette. The Mando! It's the Mando! Yes! He's here already. You back on the bounty hunting job? Like after Grogu left, you just go back to doing what he knew?
I can bring you in warm.
Yes!
Or I can bring you in cold.
Oh! Ow! Fighting is off the limits. The Darksaber! He's got it! Yes! Yes, Din! He just cut that guy down! Oh, shit! This has taken Mando to a whole nother level. Cold it is. That was a bit overkill. You'd already stabbed him. You chopped him in half. Tell me he took... Wait, Halo? Have we switched shows? That is actually really cool. Casually carrying a decapitated head. Jeez, that background, man. So cool. The whole city kind of looks like a Death Star trench. But it's on a Halo ring. And I think you really need to get that leg looked at. Oh, it's the armorer. She survived. Holy shit. I mean, they went all in on this, didn't they? Bringing back not just Mando, but other Mando characters.
We shall see.
They've got another forge.
The songs of eons past foretold of the mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore.
I gotta say, this forge is much more scenic than the last one. Rather than being in a sewer, it's in a cool space station place. Are we going to see Boba at any point in this episode?
We would have not survived the Great Purge.
Ah. Flashback. Holy shit! This is the Great Purge. They are TIE bombers.
Born of Mandalore strayed away from the path.
Whoa.
Eventually, the Imperial interlopers destroyed all that we knew and loved.
See all the helmets? K2 droids. Holy fuck. That is like an apocalyptic scene. This is the way.
Specific foundling. Grogu.
Grogu's gonna get Mandalorian armor?
He's with his own kind now. What shall I forge for the foundling Grogu?
Grogu's getting Mandalorian armor. It's so tiny. And that looks like his head. That looks like his head.
Maybe the Darksaber belongs in someone else's hands.
Oh yeah, I knew this might happen. This is just an old-fashioned Mexican standoff. Ha! Yeah. Fuck your knife.
And yours.
Oh! I like how even the big guy's struggling to wield it.
Have you ever removed your helmet?
Kind of.
Have you ever removed your helmet?
Yes.
I have.
He's gonna get kicked out.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
I'm sure we'll get to see Boba at some point in this episode of the Book of Boba Fett. As much as I'm loving the Mando stuff. Is that a metal detector?
You're going to have to remove your weapons.
I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are part of my religion.
They are. The Star Tours droids are also the pilots. Like in Star Tours.
If you wish to discuss this with my supervisor,
Huh. Just a kid. Aww. To remind him of Grogu. He misses Grogu. Oh no! For a second, I was sitting there and thinking, hold up, Cal? Is that... I mean, it looks like a pod racer. It's a Naboo starfighter. I mean, it's shiny, like Mando's armor. Or it will be after a bit of polishing.
I know she doesn't look like much, but you got here a lot earlier than I expected, and...
I can't even see what I'm doing. Stop moving.
BD.
Just focus right here.
Oh my god, another droid in live action that just looks
Thank you.
Great news!
so good.
I found you a Turbonic Venturi power simulator. Tatooine is a garden of many bounties.
I don't understand.
I gave him a list.
What if Watto
And they find
still
it for
here?
you.
I don't ask, they don't tell. They give me what I asked for in exchange. I let them pick through my dumpster.
Yeah, buff it out. Get a silver paint job.
are a lot harder to come by than some plain old Razor Crest.
But it's not got very much storage. How's he supposed to bring his bounties in? It's a single seat. It's gonna be like an American drag muscle car. It's gonna have like the engine exhaust on the outside.
What's happening? Just there you go.
Okay. Yes. Of course it's gonna be Chrome, just like him. I'm guessing the space where the droid would normally go might be converted into a second seat. Maybe a seat for Grogu? What if he rescues Grogu from Luke, and that means that Grogu wasn't part of the tragedy? I love the pod racer sounds. Oh, again, the sound effects. Every week. There's some nostalgia.
She handles a little bumpy.
You'll come up to Beggar's Canyon.
Beggar's Canyon. We haven't seen this since the pod race. Holy shit. I mean, he's taking a big risk here.
Tight. She tracks like a rail speeder.
What did I tell you? Razor Crest.
Hey, don't diss the Razor Crest, okay? That was a cool ship. May she rest in pieces. Uh-oh. Here's the X-Wings.
Run your beacon for me, N1. Relinquish your flight controls for remote control access.
It's the same thing.
I think we can let him off with the warning this time.
Yeah.
Thank you, officer. You mind answering a few questions?
Uh-oh. I mean, he can see into the cockpit, so... There we go.
How did it jump?
It didn't power up his hyperdrives.
Didn't jump, kid. Those were his sublight thrusters.
Well, how was it?
Wizard.
Wizard? Jesus, that's a hell of a reference.
Oh, by the way, an old friend of yours dropped by, said she was looking for you.
Pay is good.
What's the bounty?
No bounty. We need muscle.
Boba Fett.
He sure would appreciate it.
Yep.
Tell him it's on the house.
Hey!
First, I gotta pay a visit to a little friend.
Grogu? So that was an excellent episode of The Mandalorian Season 3. Brilliant opening. Setting the scene for the rest of the season. Surprised they managed to get it out this early, considering it's still in production. No, that was a surprise. You know, I think everyone expected to see Mando, but not for him to have an entire episode in someone else's series, you know? And, you know, I'm a little bit conflicted on it, I'll be honest, because, you know, yeah, it's great seeing Mando. It's awesome having him have another episode. But I mean, he does have his own series coming out later in the year, and this is a show for Boba Fett, and I do really want to see more Boba Fett. And so it's kind of like I'm on the fence of being like, it's awesome, but I'm also sad that we've used up one of Boba's episodes just for Mando, you know. And I don't know. I just get the feeling that, you know, those who are already skeptical and already, you know, critical of Boba Fett and this show are just going to jump on and be like, oh, well, Boba Fett's so important, they've just given a whole episode to the Mando, you know? Boba Fett's such a badass that he doesn't even appear in one of the episodes of his own show, you know? And it just feels like they're feeding the fire of this kind of stupid toxic atmosphere that, you know, people just love to revel in, you know, where everyone just finds something to nitpick and criticize, you know, and I'm not here for that, you know. I want the fandom to be positive and enjoy things and not, you know, go through everything with a fine tooth comb to find things that are wrong. You know, so that's why, although I'm kind of 50-50 on this, I think I'm leaning towards it was awesome, because it was great. You know, it just reminded me, I think, of the fact that Mando was such a badass, and seeing so many things in this episode that visually looked stunning, again, brought back a lot of nostalgia. You know, the strangest part for me was, like, the weird Halo ring. It was great because, you know, it looked amazing, but I was just like, holy shit, when did Star Wars become Halo? You know, and it almost looked like, you know, a Death Star trench with the way all the buildings were designed and the colouring used. But, you know, I would love to know more on that location, you know, find out, you know, where it's called, what its purpose is, where it's located, you know, and obviously that's where the new, you know, sort of Covent is for the Mandalorians, and there's only 3 of them left, they said. And, you know, that kind of sucks. That was another great moment, was seeing the, you know, the siege of Mandalore. I suppose not the siege, it was the purge of Mandalore, you know. It looked positively apocalyptic, you know, with the sheer amount of TIE bombers, K2 security droids, you know, just wiping the planet clean. And, you know, I don't think, although we'd heard that the Empire had, you know, razed Mandalore to the ground, I don't think we expected it to be quite so destructive. And so, you know, getting that in context really does add to, you know, I think the Empire's evil reputation. Because, you know, I think the Empire, from an objective point of view, from what we've seen in a lot of the shows here, sure, yeah, they're the bad guys, they're the villains, but they've never really been the worst of the worst. You know, they've never really had their awful deeds shown in full. You know, we just got snippets of the evil things that they did. But I think now with all these shows, you're getting to expand on how bad the Empire was for the galaxy, you know, in a way that I guess movies can only do to an extent. You know, with the movies, it's like they have a Death Star, they blew up a planet. Yeah, that is pretty evil. But with these shows, you get to expand on, you know, what they did on a ground level, on an everyday basis, that made them so bad. And you know, that was really an eye-opener there. Obviously the Naboo starfighter, a surprise, but a welcome one to be sure. All in chrome for the most part, you know, which just goes with the armor. The only thing is that it is a bit cramped, and so I don't know how he's supposed to bring in his bounties unless he decides to start bringing in a lot more people cold, you know, and he just needs the head. Also, it feels like that back pod is for Grogu, you know. So now what we've seen is he's had some armor made for Grogu, which I'm guessing is like a chain link vest, because, you know, it obviously is something that's quite malleable because it was wrapped up in that little package that looked like Grogu. That was so cool. And we saw little chain links, I think, being forged in the scene when the armor was being made. And, you know, again, the starfighter having a little seat at the back for Grogu. I'm thinking that season 3 of Mando might focus on him going to get Grogu back off Luke. You know, maybe Grogu, I don't know how they'd work it, because, you know, obviously he is force sensitive. We want to see him become a Jedi. But at the same time, people are like, well, what happens when Luke's academy burns down, you know? Does that mean Grogu dies? But they could work it so that maybe he's taken away before that happens. And that would in a way make sense, you know? Maybe he gets a little bit of training to help control his powers, though obviously you need years and years of it first. But then removing him from that situation, I guess helps solve that question. I thought Watto was going to make an appearance here, when they were talking about where the Jawas get all their parts from. I was thinking, holy shit, I don't know how long Toydarians live for, but he could well make an appearance here, They're not afraid of referencing the prequels, clearly. So maybe Watto could make some kind of an appearance. But no, that was a fantastic episode. A lot of surprises, and as I say, I'm surprised by it. Yeah, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Getting to see Mando back on screen, seeing the continuation of his journey is something that's brilliant. I just kind of wish it didn't take an entire episode of Boba's show to do it. Because that means less Boba Fett. And I just know people are going to nitpick it. People are going to just try and make, problems where there really shouldn't be. But, we'll see what happens next time. How they're going to structure it. With Mando saying he needs to go see an old friend. How it's going to quite work in the structure and the timeline of things. So, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for the next one.